intro? You know the intro on Spurs Spotlight or no?
Nah.
You don't know the intro on Spurs Spotlight, bro? That's crazy.
Bro.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Chris, and we're back on Spurs Spotlight with another banger.
Yeah, y'all gonna stop coming in my live talking about this Victor dude, bro. We hooping this year. Y'all gonna see.
Now today, we have a very special episode. We got something pretty different. We haven't done one of these, so it's going to be trial one. But a Spurs podcast in the offseason with my boy and put it here.
How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. It's good to be on here. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm actually really excited about this.
If you want to go ahead and drop your socials, you can. Go ahead.
All right, shit. Well, my main social is Don't Bother Ant. You can catch me on there more times than not. And then my actual Spurs account is the Mustang Season. I haven't really been active on there lately, but with this upcoming season, I'm actually really excited. So let's get it. Let's get this started.
Let's get it. So we go ahead and jump straight into it. The San Antonio Spurs, they're coming off a 22-60 season. Ratings, we got them written right here. 110 offensive rating, 26 in the league. Defensive rating of 116.4, 22nd in the league. And a three-point percentage of 34.7, which is 28th in the league. Now, out of those three, which ones do you think you're going to see a jump with in the Spurs next season?
Definitely the defensive rating. When Wemby was actually playing with the point guard, man, our team just looks so different, like offensively and defensively. With Trey Jones in there, now we're gonna have Chris Paul, so that's even crazier to think about. We're gonna have point guard and at point guard. I mean, I just think the Spurs, they can maximize their ceiling by adding these vets early on in Wemby's career, because Wemby not only gets a chance at learning from championship DNA, such as Harrison Barnes. I know he's really the only player on our team right now that has won a ring, but Chris Paul has also been in the finals, has plenty of experience, and I'm just really excited for not even Wemby, but Stephon Castle, a lot of our younger guards, a lot of our more experienced forwards and guards such as Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson. They're finally going to get to learn from some people that actually have championship DNA. So I'm actually really excited about the defensive rating being improved. I think the offensive rating is going to come in time. Spurs just really need to work on three-point shots. I feel like last year, and that's why we haven't really been able to keep up with the modern NBA. It's just because we're not a good three-point shooting team, and nor have we been in the last several years. So, but for sure, I think defensive rating is going to improve dramatically. Wemby is just the ultimate center. He can defend, he can move his feet, he can shift. I don't know. I feel really confident in Greg Popovich's ability to get this team together and start winning pretty soon.
That's true. And the biggest question mark with the Spurs was when Wemby comes off the floor, and that's when you saw the defensive rating it plummeted.
For sure.
You got Embiid dropped 70 on us, and Wemby was getting buckets on him too, but most of that was Zach Collins just getting in there and doing an Aster class.
Yeah, can't forget that.
Now we got Stephon Castle coming off the bench. We got Trey Jones, who's not a great defender, but he's serviceable. He's better than Malachi Branham's defense off the bench.
For sure, absolutely.
And then you got Charles Bassey. Who knows if he's going to stay healthy, but he's more of a rim protector than Zach Collins ever will be. Not to shit on Zach Collins, but we all know, Spurs fans here, Zach Collins is not that guy when it comes to rim protection. So the offensive rating, I think that should also go up next season because, just like you said, Chris Paul, having a veteran point guard like this, he's been in the league for almost 20 years. He knows Wemby's potential. He knows what Wemby could do, probably a little bit more than Wemby. And so he could tell Wemby, go post up right there, go stand right there, and I'm just going to throw it up, and he's going to go get that.
He's a real student of the game, and I eventually think that Chris Paul can become a head coach. I don't know for who or for when, but Chris Paul is just that type of guy. He's up there with LeBron James in terms of IQ. LeBron James, again, a student of the game, so is Chris Paul. So, I mean, I'm really excited to see Wemby and the rest of our guys learn from veterans such as Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes. It's just going to be a different feel this season, I feel like. Like, we actually have winning vets now.
Even Harrison Barnes. Yeah, he was on that 73-19, was he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that's crazy experience to bring to the San Antonio Spurs, along with Pop and CP3. Like, that's going to do wonders for the team.
Absolutely.
And speaking on the three-point percentage, we also got – who do we get for shooting? We know we got Harrison Barnes. He could shoot. Chris Paul was about 37, 30, 8% from 3-point, although he's not a volume 3-point shooter.
Nah, he's not.
He can hit it for sure. So he's not going to be left open. Stephen Castle has to work on his 3-point shot. Obviously, Trey Jones says he's working on his 3-point shot in the offseason.
Jeremy Sochan too.
Jeremy Sochan is working on his jump shot. But who do you think the Spurs are going to really lean on for these 3-pointers? Like, because we don't have a Doug McDermott like we used to.
Honestly, I just think it's going to be coming down to finding wide open looks. I don't think we really have right now a specific 3-point specialist. That comes with competing, though. Like, I feel like once we start competing, like, actually for championships, for sure we're going to go out there and find somebody like Buddy Hield or somebody like Klay Thompson. Not saying that that's who we're going to get.
Allen.
Yeah, somebody that can actually stroke that thing. No
yeah.
Diddy.
Yeah, no Diddy.
For sure. I feel really confident in what the Spurs have for the upcoming seasons, like as far as who their center stone is and what they're really building. And not to mention we have an absolute plethora of draft picks coming up in these next several seasons. So really looking forward to that.
Facts. So looking back on last season, the 22-60 record, I got the floor, the average, and the ceiling of the Spurs record, right? So I said their floor is 30-52. I think they're at minimum a 30-win team. That's the worst. Their ceiling is a 40-win team. 40-42 is what I said. They're not gonna get 500, but 40-42 if they get on a real hot streak. And what I settled in on the average was 35-47. That's my prediction for their record. I think they'll be a 35-win team. I don't think they're gonna make the play-in, but I think this season's gonna be big for learning how to win. What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess it just really comes down to if we can stay healthy throughout this year. I know Chris Paul has had injury history. We got to rely on Wemby to be healthy. We got to rely on Zach Collins to be healthy. We got to rely on Jeremy Sochan to be healthy. Devin Vassell, too, especially with his knee problems in the past. I mean, the only real Iron Man that we have are Trey Jones and Keldon Johnson as well, too.
Harrison Barnes is somewhat of. I was
looking at his game.
I think he had an injury like last season or something, but other than that, he's been pretty steady pace.
Yeah, the resiliency of our guys though, like that needs to be key priority going into this season. I honestly think that the floor for the Spurs is going to be 30-52. Their ceiling, I feel like they can eclipse 43 wins, so they'll be like 43-39 or something like that. Not good enough to make the playoffs, I want to say. Like, not officially, but maybe make the play-in.
Yeah.
We'll make the play-in. The Spurs, they are looking to improve heavily this season, though. And, I have the utmost faith in what the Spurs are building. Wembanyama in the Olympics, man, you can just tell, like, his feel for the game is a lot more slower. And he's finding his spots and getting to the rebounds, everything like that. And it was amazing to see him compete on a big stage like that in front of millions, billions of people.
Yeah, his defensive impact is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, even when his offense was a little bit shaky, because he's still learning the FIBA game, I don't think his offensive game was as smooth as it would be in the NBA, just because of the physicality and the spacing, the court's smaller. And he's used to that, but the FIBA's Olympics are just a whole different animal, so his offense was a little shaky at times, and they didn't have a point guard either.
Yes.
So he couldn't really get him the ball, but his defense remained consistent throughout the whole thing. And he should have been the defensive player of the year. He should have got that award for the Olympics.
Oh, God, especially after they benched Rudy Gobert for the fourth quarter in one of them games.
Oh, yeah. They really benched Rudy. I couldn't watch that no more. I don't know how Timberwolves fans watch Rudy Gobert for 82 games, bro. Like, not
that trade package that they got or that they did for him, man. Golly.
5-6 first round pick. 5?
And Danny Ainge squeezed the absolute orange juice out of them, man.
Bro was trying to do that with Lauri Markkanen too.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that's not happening. So you said you think we can make the plan?
I think we can, for sure.
I could see it. It just depends on like throughout the season. Like if we're injured, if we get heat up on a huge run, if we go on a huge losing streak like we did last year. I don't think we're going on a 17-game losing streak. But it just depends, like if the team heats up or if the team cools down. Like,
and I know during that rodeo road trip, it's kind of kicked our butt the last few years. This year we actually get a 2-day break in Austin, so that's pretty cool.
Throughout the rodeo road trip.
Mm-hmm.
Dang,
yeah,
that's what's up.
Yeah,
here KD's going. KD's gonna play in Austin again.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy.
That's pretty lit. I wonder if they more than likely did.
I'm gonna have to go to that game. I'm gonna go. I went to the Austin game last year. It was cool. It was packed, dude. It was absolutely packed, and it's not too far from the UT campus.
It's the
But
Moody Center.
Yeah, that Moody Center it's a nice stadium. I ain't gonna lie to you.
That thing's for sure getting sold out again.
Yeah.
With KD going back, that's gonna be crazy.
Absolutely.
So I have on here, I think we'll be better than the Timberwolves and the Jazz, and we'll be around Golden State, Houston, and the Clippers. Now I know Clippers were high up on the standings last year, but with them losing Paul George, and you know that Kawhi is gonna miss X amount of games, it's just like a certainty. I don't really know where they're going to fall in on the standings. I could possibly see the Spurs being better than them, but I can also see the Clippers still leaning on that vet leadership to like propel them above a little bit, you know? What do you think?
I don't know. I would never put my chips against Tyronn Lue because, I mean, he's a good coach. I ain't going to lie to y'all. Like, he, even last year, like, he wasn't given much to work with the injuries throughout the season with Kawhi and Paul George. And then with the addition of James Harden was last year, too. It was just a lot of adapting to like new scenarios for him. So I think that maybe the Clippers might be above us. Maybe they might not. It's kind of a shot in the dark to say yes right now because, again, we have to rely on our team to be healthy. So
yeah, like I can't really tell who's going to be the better team between Houston and San Antonio. They're kind of in that same area. I mean, Houston has Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green. Like, they have some solid vets and up-and-coming players. But the Spurs are just right there, too, now. With the additions of Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes, I think with another year of Wemby taking a leap, another year of Devin Vassell, another year of Sochan, another year of Keldon Johnson, buying into that the camaraderie, I think the Spurs could be up there with Houston.
And one thing that the Spurs have always prided themselves on was building a team that was built through the draft and just keeping the same core together. And if you do that long enough, I definitely feel like things will start to come together because, I mean, you look at the Nuggets, I think even Jamal Murray said, like, it took years for them to figure it out. And once they did, that chemistry was just read and write, you know? So, I mean, it's just you got to find a balance. You have to find an equilibrium, and you just got you got to execute. That's what it really comes down to. Like the Spurs, they need to lock in, buckle down, and just start winning because I know Wemby's not going to be happy forever if he's continuously losing. So, just something you got to figure out in due time, for sure.
So I'm expecting a leap, sort of, or a bigger season out of Wemby, Devin Vassell, Sochan, and Keldon Johnson. Really the core four guys. I'm expecting those guys to take a leap. But excluding Wemby, because you know he's Wemby, he's going to take his leap. Out of those three, out of Devin Vassell, Sochan, and Keldon Johnson, who do you think is really going to take a leap this season?
For sure, I think it's going to be Devin Vassell. I think he's going to feed off of Chris Paul as well. They can run that two-guard pick and roll.
Oh, yeah.
And then Devin Vassell, I mean, he's a pick and popper, or he can slash the rim. I know his knee has been in question as of the last few years, but if he can stay healthy, man, Devin Vassell, he's just primed to be an all-star eventually.
I think that too. His ceiling is pretty. I think he has all-star potential for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not as impactful on defense as he used to be. But that's because he just has a lot more responsibilities on offense, and over the game, you know, you want to save your energy for clutch moments and stuff like that. So he's also going to feed off of Wemby being the main focus on offense now because now NBA teams not necessarily know what he is yet because that man's an alien, so you don't really know what he is. But for sure, they're going to game plan around him, and he's going to be top of the list on every single scouting report throughout the whole season. So I feel like that gives Devin Vassell some leeway to have some games where he can drop 40 points, maybe 35, mid-30s.
Yeah.
But Devin Vassell, he just really needs to take that next step and be healthy. That's his biggest thing. We know he could play. We know he could hoop. Health, man. Just that man needs to stay healthy. I love watching him, though. He's
my
good
favorite game from Devin Vassell was against the Lakers. I think he had about like 33, 35 somewhere when we were in that losing streak.
Yeah.
I think that's the game we broke it on the Lakers, right?
Absolutely.
And Devin Vassell went crazy. That was probably my favorite Devin Vassell game. So I said Chris Paul is going to enhance some of our players like Wemby, obviously, Devin Vassell. And I also said Stephen Castle because he's going to teach him how to be a point guard. I think that Chris Paul can show Devin Vassell how to perfect that pick and roll kind of because I know Devin Vassell said that he wants to work on his two-man game with Wemby in the offseason. And I think adding Chris Paul just really helps that because although Devin Vassell can run the pick and roll, he was more of a 3-and-D. And so he has to, enhance his playmaking a little bit. He's going to now learn how to snake dribble or snake come off there and do that snake dribble on the pick and roll, know when to kick it to Wemby and know when to get in his little mid-range because he has a nice mid-range. Where do you think Chris Paul is going to help Stephen Castle?
Honestly, I think it's going to be reading the game because if I'm not mistaken, Stephon Castle was not really much of a point guard. He was more of a shooting guard over there at UConn. And I think before he got drafted, his team told other teams, like actual NBA teams, that he's more specifically interested in playing point guard, like full-time. So with Stephon Castle, he just really needs to learn from Chris Paul. I mean, just experience the game and get the feel for it. It's different at the NBA level. I can't speak from experience, but I mean, I see these guys competing, man, and it's just fast. It's not really as fast-paced as college, but it's more to do so with making reads and just outsmarting your defender, really. But once Stephon Castle learns from Chris Paul, I mean, you're going to be able to tell the difference. Can we compare this to when Chris Paul was mentoring Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
Yeah, I've seen that comparison a few times. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I kind of do like it.
I mean, in no way are Stephon Castle and Shai Gilgeous in comparison at the same talent level, but to learn from somebody like Chris Paul who's been winning for a long, long time, it's special for Stephon. You know, I can't wait for him to really experience what it's like to be at the NBA level, and he's got a lot of talent, and I can't wait for him to show it for sure.
Yeah.
His main area that I think Chris Paul is going to help him in is reading offenses, defenses, not just on the offensive side for reading, but like pick and rolls. Like when Stephon Castle gets put in pick and rolls, I know Chris Paul is pretty good at playing defense on pick and rolls. So
yeah,
there's a lot of area and improvement, a lot of improvement in that area for Stephon Castle for sure. Even just watching his clips back at UConn, he would make some errors, some bozo errors. I ain't gonna lie to you, but that's with every young player, you know. That type of fix comes in time. So again, I'm just really excited for Chris Paul to help out Stephon Castle and actually learn offense and defense.
Yes, Stephen Castle, he's not gonna be no MVP candidate like Shai, but I kind of see similarities in their movement. Like if you saw him in summer league,
absolutely.
Like the way he's methodical and he moves at really his own pace. He could like speed up and then slow down. That kind of reminded me of Shai because you know when Shai gets in that mid range, he just hits that quick stop and he like slows down and speeds up. And Stephen Castle kind of has that pace to him. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And then like you said at UConn, Stephen Castle, he was kind of playing that Jeremy Sochan role. You know what I mean? Like the connector piece where he floats around, plays defense, swings it, not really controlling the offense. And so I think that's why scouts were skeptical of his playmaking. And obviously it was just summer league. You can't really take too much in with that. But it looked like Stephen Castle does have some playmaking skills to him that Chris Paul can for sure build off of and make him look a little bit better.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, it just comes down to polishing his game. And with vets, you know, even on our wings, like with Harrison Barnes, I feel like Malachi Branham should find some improvement in his defense, his shooting, and his actual contribution to winning. So I don't know how much Chris Paul is going to help out Blake Wesley because it's like kind of two different areas. I feel like Blake Wesley's more of a two guard, like a slashing guard, not really one that could read the offense. But he does play good defense, and I think the Spurs should utilize him if they're going to play him this year as like a defensive specialist or something like that. Because I remember last year there were more than several occasions where he harassed a defender into committing turnover, and you know that builds energy throughout the games, and that helps us win. So,
in my opinion, there's only room for one of them in Blake Wesley and Trey Jones. Like you can't run both of them at the same time because they're both non-shooting guards, and I think you just got to pick your. Honestly, Trey Jones is still young. He's about 23, 24. Blake Wesley, 20. Who would you rather have?
I'd honestly rather have Trey Jones just because Trey Jones, when he was playing our point guard, we were winning. Not much, but, you know, it was better than, in my opinion, it would have been better as if than when Blake Wesley would be running the point guard. Just because Trey Jones, he's played for winning teams, Duke. He's learned from Coach K, and then he's been around, like, actual talent such as Zion, R.J. Barrett, at the time Cam Reddish. So, in my opinion, I'd rather have Trey Jones.
Facts.
Trey Jones is a more polished player and more complete. And not to mention, he low-key did improve on his three-point shooting this last season. I remember there were instances where he wouldn't take that shot the year prior, and he would take it this year. And Man, he was making that thing. He
Low-key.
was.
It was after what I really saw Trey Jones take a jump in this 3-point shooting. It was after the Bucks game when Wemby swung it to him in the corner for the game-winning shot,
and he missed
it. And he kind of like held his head on that one. You saw Wemby go over there and like big head up and stuff. But after that, it seemed like his 3-point shot kind of improved. Obviously, like I said before, he's not a volume 3-point shooter, but he was hitting some of the open ones, so where you can't really leave him open like you would leave Sochan open. So that's we've seen some improvement in him, and I would also choose Trey Jones because if you invested that much time in him, you had him be the starting point guard for this many amount of years. He's a reliable backup point guard.
Absolutely.
So like when we don't have Chris Paul and Stephen Castle's the starting point guard, and maybe Stephen Castle sits out a game, you have Trey Jones to where he's ran point guard for a whole season, you know? Yeah. Whereas Blake Wesley don't really have that experience, and you kind of have to build him up from scratch all the way over again. Getting into some questions now. You've had some controversial takes on, well, not really controversial. No, people really give Sochan some heckling.
Nothing crazy. I didn't say nothing crazy about Sochan.
You didn't say nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
Get him off your team.
Yeah, I just said get him off my team. It was in the heat of the moment. I was angry. The Bulls commentators, they were clowning us. It was a horrible time.
It was after the Bulls game?
Yeah.
Okay, that's respectable.
It was a horrible time for us.
Like, that game was terrible.
It was terrible.
They were like, the Bulls commentators were like, they got a bunch of players on this team that think they're the guy. They got to realize that they're not the guy and Wemby is the guy.
That was tough to hear. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Like, no one's ever said anything like that about the Spurs. So just hearing that for the first time, it was really tough to even hear, man.
It was. So I can understand where you're coming from. I had some crash out moments myself too watching the Spurs last season. It was pretty insane. But what are your honest feelings now that you could get away from last season? What are your feelings about Sochan?
Well, he didn't really get much play in like the off season because I know he played FIBA for a little bit, and then I don't think his team made the qualifying rounds for the actual Olympics. I saw his highlights and he's really improved. You know, I mean, like as far as defensive goes, I know it's against like non-NBA talent, but these guys, they're still playing for their countries. So, I mean, it was against actual like elite level talent. So, I feel like Jeremy Sochan does need to improve on his jump shots and sometimes his decision making.
For sure.
Going back to that Bulls game, there were just plenty of times where he would miss Wemby on a down low pass, and I mean it was tough to watch last year. But definitely towards the end of the year, I feel like Sochan started to notice Wemby, you know, so to speak. I mean, he's just one of those guys that eventually becomes a glue guy, like a Draymond Green or a PJ Tucker, something like that, you know.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like Jeremy Sochan will contribute to our success in the long run as far as winning championships.
You know, it's crazy because he was really missing Wemby. Like there were some pretty crazy moments. But going into last season, I thought of him as like a good passer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know Pop saw him as a good passer too because that's obviously why he put him at point guard. But it just didn't happen. I don't know, like. I can't imagine how you could miss Wemby, like just right here with his hands up.
And
like,
I think there was one instance during that Bulls game where Sochan was driving by him inside the paint, and Wemby put his hands up like that or something like that to try and catch the ball, but Sochan didn't throw it to him, and he threw it to someone on the outside. They took a three, and they missed that shit.
Yeah, bro. No, that last season was just insane. And then you have, I don't know what game it was, but when Champagnie missed him, on the Wemby was cutting and Champagnie had it right here. He didn't pass it to him, and Wemby still jumped up to like put the ball in the hoop like imaginary, and that was crazy. I think that was the post that Trae Young commented on, like I'm getting him that lob or something like that. It was just a crazy season.
Abysmal.
Yeah, no. You have your thoughts on Sochan. What are your thoughts on Zach Collins? Because people on here know my feelings about Zach Collins. Actually, hold up. I said on a couple of videos ago I would stop the Zach Collins slander just for now until next season begins. So I'm gonna hold my peace. But you go ahead.
I mean, the Spurs must have seen something to offer him that big contract. I don't know. I mean, I'm not there every day. I'm not inside the Victory Capital Center, Performance Center, or whatever. It's just there's a lot of things that Zach Collins got toasted on last year as far as defense goes. I can remember on 2 occasions where he's gotten boomed on more than a few times.
Oh, yeah.
More specifically by Alperen Sengun.
Oh, yeah.
And I hated to see that because those are our rivals over there. And
Sengun was bodying him.
yeah. And then, man, it's just backup centers even they cook Collins, man. I don't know how else to put it, man.
They have him as an elephant on the scouting report. You saw in Dallas scouting report got leaked. They have him as an elephant. Like, that means attack him. Like, as soon as Zach Collins gets in the game, they just straight in the paint.
He can't move his feet, man. He's got cinder blocks on his feet. I don't know what else to say. I mean, he's just. I mean, no disrespect to how hard he's worked to make the NBA or anything like that. He was a good player for us about a couple years ago when we traded Jakob and he became the starting center. But that's because teams hadn't game planned around him. They haven't attacked him yet. You know, that was like his first time playing in a couple years because he was coming off the injury. So I mean, there's just something that the Spurs must have seen with him. I don't want to say that to get him off my team, not yet, at least.
No, get him off my team. Say it, Hank. Go ahead.
All right, get this man off my team. Get this man off my team.
But no, he doesn't have a small build, right? Like he has muscles.
Yeah, he does.
When he gets on the court, it's like he just gets bodied, like every time.
And he's like 260, 270. So
7 foot.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
I want to see Zach Collins traded. I know I said I'm not slandering him, but this isn't slandering. I just want him to get traded. And like Ann said, that contract, I think it's about $17 million. Paying $17 million for Zach Collins is not good. But this upcoming season, I would like to see him with Charles Bassey as center and Zach Collins more as a power forward. But then again, I don't know if Zach Collins could even guard a power forward because power forwards nowadays are more quick. And so I don't know if Zach Collins could guard anyone on the court. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So we got Sochan, Zach Collins, Blake Wesley is next. What do you think is going to happen to Blake Wesley? Because we have Stephon Castle. He's kind of like the similar archetype. And then you have Trey Jones. And like I said, you can't really keep both of them. So
I think this is Blake Wesley's last year to get it right. I don't know how sparingly they're going to play him. They're definitely not going to send him down to Austin because it's his third year in the league, and he's not going to want to be down there. Otherwise, he will ask for a trade. And, I mean, I don't know where to go from here with Blake Wesley, you know? I mean, it's just like I do think he gets traded or maybe not even re-signed, maybe even waived or something like that. But definitely it was a project of Brian Wright that, as of now, just hasn't really panned out. And that's more so to do with him just not getting enough playing time because I know when he does play, he gives effort, and that's all you can really ask for a guy that's not really a polished player or anything like that, who's still raw coming out of college. Because I think he was like 19 when he came out of college or something like that. He was really young, so I mean he's got areas for improvement for sure. I just don't know if like his career path lines up with what the Spurs are trying to build. So
yeah, that's facts. No, I think he can have a career. But it's probably going to have to be somewhere else that's not here in San Antonio because he has some good qualities to him. Like compared to his rookie year, he's shown some improvement in playmaking and kind of decision-making because we said last time we were on here how Blake Wesley just crashes out on a fast break. Like he'll just go full speed and he don't really have breaks. Now he still has showed some flashes of that, but he's shown some better decision-makings. He's found Wemby a couple times throughout the season. And he could dunk, he could play defense, but I don't know if he fits. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially long term.
So now I kind of want to get into some predictions. When do you think Wemby's playoff debut will be? When do you think the Spurs will make the playoffs?
This year. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year, yeah.
That's a red hot take. You heard it here first on Spurs Spotlight. And thinks they're making the playoffs.
Nah, for sure. I think, again, with the addition of Chris Paul, I mean, I feel like there is like a 6-7 seed potential with the Spurs. They just, again, I feel like a broken record, but they need to stay healthy. Wemby, man, he's just an amazing talent. And to think that the Spurs got him in one of their worst years in franchise history, especially after getting Duncan, David Robinson, and the other two worst seasons in our franchise's history. It's crazy to think about. I mean, Wemby already said he's ready to win now, so I feel like Wemby can take us there. Chris Paul can lead the offense, and Wemby can anchor the defense, and that's going to be huge for us.
I think that's where Stephon Castle comes into play. You know, you have Chris Paul, who's 40 years old, 39 years old. He can't play the whole season, 30 minutes a night, stuff like that. So having Stephon Castle, who's learning and being mentored by Chris Paul, great defender, I think that's going to help balance out and keep Chris Paul healthy, relatively healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, he's going to have some rest nights because, like I said, again, he's 39. but we have kind of a balance of youth and experience now. So I think that prediction, it's not terrible. You know, I think they could possibly make the playoffs, and counting out Wemby is something you don't do.
Yeah, absolutely not.
You don't count Wemby out. He's a freak.
And he's even said that he's not scared for himself. He's scared for other NBA teams, other world teams. And, I mean, that's just crazy. When Wemby says stuff like this, I mean, it's just like, you know he could back it up. I mean, it's just.
He said last season he don't just talk to talk. Because remember after he said every game is a statement from here on out? Every game was a statement from there on out.
And when he had that explosion game against the Knicks, 40 and 20 as a rookie, that was absurd. That was just insane.
Launched the ball into the stands.
I know. Forget Jalen Brunson.
That was a great game. I was watching that live here. Brunson 60, Wemby 40, 20. He had 20 rebounds too. That was a banger.
I think he had like 7 threes or something like that too.
Wemby?
I think so. Or 7 assists.
He was probably 7 assists.
Yeah,
but
I
he
want to
was
say it was
banging
7
some
assists.
threes. He probably had about like 5.
And then he hit that one late in the game where after that he turned around.
Yeah. That's swag. I
Yeah.
ain't gonna lie. He got aura.
Hey, there was a couple times this year where Wemby shot the ball and he turned around before that went in. I'd never seen that from a 7-footer before.
Yeah, I think he did that one against
Philly and then the Timberwolves.
Kyle Anderson. When Kyle Anderson was guarding him out there on the perimeter.
And you saw Kyle Anderson after the play. He was like,
yeah, I saw the whole bench in the back. That's my favorite thing to do after Wemby makes a crazy play. Just look at the bench and they're just like.
even the fan reactions, man. Like there was a play that same game during that Timberwolves game where he had blocked Gobert or something like that, or one of the Timberwolves players, and then he went down the fast break and he like did a behind the back lob, and then Jalen McDaniels fouled him, and man,
he threw it off the backboard, right?
Yeah, he
And
went
then
behind his back and.
Yeah, and he like gave him a little push. I think Wemby should have made that. He really should have made that. That would have been a crazy highlight. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
You heard the oohs and the ahs of the crowd. I mean, even then, there was one play where I was watching. I was with my mom downstairs eating. It was when they were playing the Grizzlies over there at FedEx Forum, and Wemby. It was like Champagny. It was towards the end of the shot clock, and Champagny passed the ball to Wemby, and Wemby was at the top next to the logo. This man. One-legged three. That thing bounces off the rim on the backboard, bounces off the rim again, circles up, and then goes back in. That was crazy to see.
Bro, I remember watching that live too. I was so scared if he missed it because I didn't want Bob to like rip into him, and I was like, bro, if he misses this, I don't know what's gonna happen.
And there was one game where he checked himself back in. Do you remember that?
On the minutes restriction?
Yeah.
And he just subbed himself back in. He has that dog in him. He really has like that Kobe-esque Mamba mentality.
Yes, I mean, that type of mentality is far and few and in between because, I mean, these guys, they're talented, everything like that. They have all the skills to be great, but it's like if you don't got the mind for it, you can never really reach your true potential. And Wemby just locks in. I mean, even the way he speaks, you can tell in his interviews and his podcasts, whatever he's on. This guy is just years ahead. He's like a 60-year-old man in a 20-year-old's body. Like it's crazy really to hear him speak. Because I mean, he said like, I won't ever get down on myself because I know that in this universe, my spirit is free, my will is free, so I can do anything I want and I can feel any type of way I want. And if I want to win, I will win. I think that was like the craziest thing he ever said.
Was that like from the JJ Redick podcast?
I think so. I don't think he said verbatim that, but he said that my spirit is free and I can do what I want, basically. Like I can feel how I want. And just hearing that from a 20-year-old, at the time he was 19 actually. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Did you see the NBA posted those 4-hour highlights of Wemby? It was like
dude.
overseas, the NBA, and then his Olympics. They low-key be glazing a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. They just like me. I didn't have this on there, but you mentioned Julian Champagny, another one of my Spurs who I low-key kind of like rock with. I rock with Champagny, but I just want to get your thoughts on Champagny.
Yeah, no, I like Champagny. I remember he came over from Philadelphia right after they had waived him, and he had that little hot streak at the end of, I think it was, 2022 season?
Yeah, that got him signed.
Yeah. And, I mean, he's a good bench piece. I don't know why we were starting him last year, to be honest. I mean, he was like one of the worst starters in the league.
Yeah,
but he was a good player on defense. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean,
he was for sure out of position. I think it was more to like get Keldon used to the bench role, and we didn't really have much depth, so it was like spreading out that talent. But he was one of the worst starters there was. But I think going into his bench role, I think he's going to look way better just being that 3-and-D type player. And like you said, he's not a liability on defense. He kind of reminds me of like Danny Green. Obviously, he's not going to be as good as Danny Green because prime Danny Green, like,
I know that man was performing in the finals.
yeah, but Champagnie, I think he could be a solid bench 3-and-D type player.
Yeah, for sure. And there were moments where he was just really electric. And he's a 6'9" forward. He's got length to him. He can move his feet. And
he can finish.
Yeah, he can finish. He can finish. He's got some nasty poses. Pause.
Nah, but I didn't know he was away from the Sixers. I know he was away, but he was away from the Sixers.
Yeah, we got him and Charles Bassey, I think, in the same year. Damn, we finessed the Sixers that year.
And Champagnie hit that shot. Obviously, we ended up losing the game, but it was against the 76ers. You know, when I don't think Embiid was playing this one. It was later in the season.
It was when they were here, right?
I believe so. And when they threw it to Wemby, the clock was running down. The game was about to end. And they kicked it out to Champagnie, and he banged that three. And then we're gonna win the game. And then they gave Tyrese Maxey that wide open layup to go into overtime. I think Tyrese Maxey had like 40 or something that game. You know what game I'm talking about or no?
I don't, bro.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. Embiid wasn't playing, but we still ended up losing that. But shout out Champagnie.
Yeah, he's a good player. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm glad we signed him for how much we signed him for. I think it was like $3 million, and we got him under contract.
4 years.
Yeah.
12 mil. So yeah. Staying on the prediction side of things, we got your prediction for the playoffs. Now, when are the Spurs gonna win their next championship? Wemby's first ring. What is your prediction for that?
So barring if they make the playoffs this year, next year for sure, I don't think they're gonna make it to the final. Well, they're gonna experience like some terrible heartbreak. Like if I'm being completely honest, like I feel like the Spurs would like next year especially make the playoffs, go to like the Eastern Conference semifinals and like losing like 6 games or something like that. I think the year after though, I feel like the Spurs with Wemby already set in his prime, the boat is in motion right now. So he wants to win, and I feel like if he wants to win, he's gonna get it done. I think 2026 is going to be our year.
So about 3 years?
Yeah.
Not this upcoming one, not the next one, but the next one they could possibly be on the brink.
And who knows? They can do it even in the next, not the next 2 years. Next 2 years.
I don't think that's a bad prediction because going after this upcoming season, I think they're looking to make a splash in that 2025 free agency
Hell yeah.
or the draft because they could possibly get the Bulls one, the Hawks one. Is for sure ours, and then we have the Spurs' own pick, and then Charlotte. I don't know if they can make. Hopefully, Charlotte can make the playoffs. The East is weak.
You don't ever want to rely on Charlotte to make the playoffs.
You're right. He's right. So that one's low key not really ours. So more than likely we'll have 3 or 2. But the East is just so weak, and with them having who do they got? They got LaMelo, B. Mill,
Miles
Bridges. That center, Mark Williams. Yeah, Mark Williams. Okay, they're really not a playoff team, but we're just relying on the East being so bad that hopefully they could get into the play-in and get lucky. You know what I mean? We're for sure not betting on that pick, though. I think the Spurs could be looking for a splash in 2025. What do you think?
Absolutely. I know the cap space right now is a little funky, but it's just because the Spurs have to maximize their cap space. Otherwise, they face like CBA violations or something like that. Like it's like a penalty against a franchise.
Yeah,
and they have to pay so much amount of money. But with like this upcoming free agency class in 2025, I'm not too sure who's at the top of that list.
Me either.
But, I mean, it'd just be interesting to see how they spread out their money and spread the wealth. I mean, I know they're going to have to take into account that Wemby's going to, like, deserve, like, a super max contract for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So that's got to be number one priority. You do not want to lose Wembanyama just because you don't have enough money to sign him. You got to be greedy with it sometimes.
Yeah. Do you think Wemby would take, like, a Jalen Brunson-type pay cut?
Honestly, all Wemby really cares about is winning. I feel like he's already set for life in other endorsements and stuff like that, and I really don't think he's going to mind taking a pay cut. But, I mean, if that's me and I had generational wealth in my hands, I definitely would not take a pay cut, just being completely honest.
That's real. But he does got like $100 million from Nike. He already got like signed to. You're right. He does have some crazy endorsements.
He's the ambassador for Louis Vuitton too, so that's
that's
pretty crazy in and of itself.
But for sure, Wemby's probably going to have one of the largest deals in NBA, if not the largest deal in NBA history.
It might be like a Patrick Mahomes type contract. Fuck.
Oh, yeah. What is Mahomes under? I know he got
I
some
know he's
crazy-
got like a 10-year deal or something like that.
Yeah, that baseball contract. He has that baseball type contract, that Otani contract.
I know. That's just. I mean, that's gonna be insane. Like that's gonna be the first time I feel like it's ever gonna happen in the NBA. But Wemby, he's just that deserving of it. So I mean, I don't know. We have to see. We have to see if he can stay healthy, and we have to see how quickly he can win. So, I mean, but we know his talent's there. Spurs just got to build into it.
Facts. So, staying on the championship talk, I was thinking the other day, I was sitting, like, just on the couch, just vibing type shit, and I was wondering, like, does Pop really want another ring? Like, I know he's the greatest at his at this coaching stuff, and so he has some pride in his craft. Like, he obviously wants to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he signed that 5-year deal right when Wemby got signed, and I know he wants to develop them and lead them up for the next coach. But do you think Pop really wants that 6th ring?
I do. I really think that he wants that 6th ring. Man, I mean, Pop's longevity is just a testimony to what the Spurs really are. Just developing stuff, developing players, developing talent, developing winning. And, I mean, Pop will ride away into the sunset, in my opinion, after he gets that 6th ring. Regardless if he's still got some time left on his contract. I truly think that the Spurs owe him, like once he finishes his job, to just walk away. Give him all his money and then just have him walk away after that 6th ring. But I do believe that he's really interested in coaching up these guys into winning another ring for not only himself, but to experience it with these guys too, because I think Greg Popovich would have won in like 4 different decades, which is crazy.
Yeah. I think after Pop retires, I mean, maybe they'll give him like a low maintenance front office job or something that he could just like chill on, you know what I'm saying, and just like be vibing. But to think what that could possibly do for Pop's legacy, like in my opinion, he's already the greatest coach of all time. But just that Tim Duncan carried him argument, that would be vanished. Like if he gets another ring without Tim Duncan, like what can you say about that? That's insane.
I know, and it's especially after going through rebuilding seasons. Like, I mean, man, that just speaks the testimony of how great Popovich is. I mean, it's crazy, man. The Spurs are able to turn it around like that, win championships, and be set up for the next 10, 15 years to win. I mean,
and you got those people. My bad. You got those people critiquing him like, oh, what is he doing after Tim Duncan left? Like,
I know.
Bro, what do you expect for him to do? Yeah, like teams obviously go through a rebuilding phase with what you're seeing now, but like, look at who's on the roster. What is he gonna do with Champagnie and Zach Collins and Trey Jones as your starting point guard? Like, what do you do?
I mean, you can't really do much. I mean, in my opinion, that's just not championship level caliber right there, talent. So, I feel like the Spurs, once Wemby is ready to compete, like actually compete for championships, the Spurs are gonna start putting some more actual NBA level talent. No disrespect to those guys, they worked hard, but they can do better elsewhere, in my opinion. And they can build more talent on the Spurs. The Spurs are just a natural team that you want to play for, just because championship pedigree, the history of the Spurs, the fact that their front office cares more about their players than any other team in the NBA. They cater to the players, and then, in my opinion, the quality of life here in San Antonio is only going to get better. So, I mean, that's going to be a really enticing thing for future free agents to come down to San Antonio, especially after we build that, $4 billion arena downtown. Man.
That's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
And not even mentioning the practice facility that just built. That's probably the best one in the league.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. That's a crazy practice facility.
State of the art.
My bad. I didn't ask you. Do you have any questions you want to ask me? Not to put you on the spot. You don't have to have any.
I really don't have any questions off the top of my head. I think we've pretty much gone over what I've wanted to cover. I see you still got some more stuff on the paper.
Next season, obviously you're going to have Wemby. You're going to have Devin Vassell. Those are going to be, in my opinion, the top dogs of the team.
Mm-hmm.
But who do you think are going to be those third and fourth, the third and fourth best players?
Honestly, I feel like that third spot already belongs to Keldon, just because of the amount of time that he's been there. If you ask anybody within the Spurs organization, I'm pretty sure they're going to tell you that Keldon's a hard worker, that he's always in the gym. Because, I mean, he doesn't post that much on his social media. When he does, he's in the gym, like, late night, early morning. And it's day and night with him. I mean, he's got a lot to work on as far as his defense goes. But for sure, his offense is already there to where he can be a reliable scorer, to where he can be that third option. I just don't know if he'll be the third option on a championship team. Maybe not even the fourth option, maybe the fifth option or sixth option. But as of now, for what the Spurs got going into next season, for sure, I think that third option belongs to him. With the fourth spot, I really can't say for certain.
That's
because
kind of a wild card. I had to change the battery on the low camera, but as we were saying, the fourth option.
Yeah, I feel like Jeremy Sochan can maximize his scoring this year at like 12 points a game, maybe even 11. But the Spurs really aren't asking for him to score. They're asking for him to facilitate. They're asking him to move his feet. They're asking him to just guard the best player on the opposite team. So I don't know. I really can't say for certain who's going to be that fourth option. Just based off of veteran leadership, I think Chris Paul is that fourth option.
Facts. And speaking a little bit about Keldon Johnson, recently posted the video that he said he's going to keep number 3. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. Just adds more skepticism on what the Spurs' plans are for Keldon. I mean, because you only know CP3. Chris Paul is CP3. So, I mean, I think maybe if things go right, CP0, CPO.
Oh, CP0 is kind of crazy, bro. That's like kind of giving him like a Celtic Shaq meme, don't you think?
Yeah, my opinion. Yeah, man. Now that you mention it, but I don't know. I think it's just really funny how the Spurs media team has been messing around with fans and stuff like that.
They troll,
I
bro.
know, man. They put like logos and stuff like that in front of his number so you can't see his number.
Yeah, no, they do some pretty crazy stuff. But honestly, I know it's Chris Paul, but Keldon being the longest tenured Spur, like you can't really force him to give his number up.
Exactly.
I wouldn't force him to give his number up, and I think he deserves to keep the number 3. I could see Chris Paul maybe going with like 4. You can't do 33 because Trey Jones has 33. Maybe he buys Trey Jones off him. I could see that.
Or maybe number 7. I don't think anyone has number 7 on our team.
I also said 13 because I think that's what he wore in the Olympics when he played.
I think 13 is retired. I think it's Artis Gilmore that has it.
But yeah, Artis Gilmore, I forgot about that. Any other predictions? Just 7, 4, 0?
Maybe 11. Maybe 11.
It's kind of weird. I can't imagine CP3 wearing anything else but 3. Before we get out here, I got a few more questions or topics I want to talk about. Next is Stephon Castle. So that was our recent draft pick. Do you like him?
Absolutely. No, I love Stephon Castle. I liked what I saw from him in the summer league. Had a short stint, but man, it was cool. It was cool seeing him play.
Yeah. Do you think he's the point guard of the future?
I do think that the Spurs can make him and turn him, because the Spurs have only ever developed good players in the NBA. And, I mean, yeah, there's hits and misses. Luka Samanic.
Oh, Luka was the worst, bro.
Joshua Primo.
I say this a lot, but he's a creep. Let's get that out the way. But if he wasn't, I think he was going to be nice.
Yeah, no, he had all the talent in the world, and then to throw it away over something like that is just tough.
Yeah, that was stupid. And I don't know how the Spurs didn't catch that. Like
9 times too.
9 times?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. Oh, Jesus, Josh Primo, man. Oh,
Josh Frico.
Nah, but I do think Stephon Castle has potential to be the point guard of the future. Someone mentioned in my comments one time that the Sochan experiment is kind of what they were looking for with Stephon Castle. You know, Stephon Castle's like a big guard, like 6'6", who can defend and really facilitate. And Sochan, they were looking for him to do that, but I just don't think he has the ball handle or the playmaking skills to do that. But I think Stephon Castle is kind of what they were shooting for when going for that Sochan experiment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you look at Sochan in college, I mean, he can now be asked what used to be asked of him back when he was in college. This was just to slash and cut the rim and then finish and then defend. So with a lot of leverage taken off on the fact that we actually have point guards now that can get Wimby the ball and play defense as well, it's really looking good for the San Antonio Spurs right now, and I'm very hopeful that Stephon Castle is going to turn a corner in the near future as far as his playmaking goes and just overall understanding the game, and then his shooting too. I know that needs to be an area of improvement for him.
Facts.
But if he can put it together, there is no doubt in my mind that he's going to be the starting point guard for the San Antonio Spurs for the next decade.
That's another thing I was thinking about that you mentioned about us having a point guard now. That's also why I'm expecting kind of a jump out of Sochan. You have someone to facilitate for you, and Sochan's more of like move around, find empty spots, and get the ball throughout the offense. And throughout his rookie year, he looked really good on the offensive end, like finding that dunker spot, getting like loose areas, open spots on the floor. And then you put him at point guard, which kind of threw him off. And then he had this low season. But coming back with the point guard of Chris Paul's caliber, obviously he's not the same, but the mentality or his IQ doesn't really fade like that. And so you insert a point guard like Chris Paul with Jeremy Sochan to connect the whole thing. I think he's going to look really good this offseason just because he has someone to get him the ball.
Yeah, and he's coming different because you got that new hairstyle with the braids now too. So
he has the braids, right?
Yeah, so just watch out for the Spurs this year. I mean, Jeremy Sochan is definitely looking to take an improvement in his game because, again, he's not being asked to do too much now. He's not asking to be a facilitator. He's asking to be a defender and to find the open spots. And to add on to what you were saying about him in his rookie year, he did look there were just really a lot of flashes from him his rookie year. As far as like offensive goes, I know he's gonna take a lot of pressure off of Keldon Johnson by playing alongside him, because I know last year those two really didn't get consistent run together. And with Keldon now coming into he's in his 6th year already, right?
About.
Dang.
He's still 24. I think he's about to turn 25, so he's still young.
Yeah, I think this upcoming October he's going to turn 25.
Yeah.
But it's building chemistry and playing on the court with these guys, I feel like in high-tense situations, that's when all the camaraderie and chemistry is going to really show, because you'll have instincts on what your guys are going to do, basically. Like, you're just going to know where your guys are going to be at if you play together long enough. And I feel like Jeremy Sochan can and will contribute to our next several. Hell yeah, several.
Yeah, and they faced a little bit of adversity already as a group. This is like one of the few seasons where we've had a majority of the roster come back and be like the same team. They've have a few years under their belt, and like I said, on the adversity, they faced a whole 17-game losing streak together, and they really didn't fold. Like, they still finished off the season strong, and they ended on some wins. And I think that's just that's all you can ask for with a team like that. A rebuilding team is to keep their heads up and to keep fighting. And I think they showed a lot of character and poise, and it makes the future a whole lot better knowing that they had to go through these trials and tribulations.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to add on to something else, another topic. Last year, I believe the Spurs only got 2 national televised games. Now this year, they're going to have 21.
Oh.
And we play on Christmas.
Oh, the Christmas game. How could I forget the Christmas game? The
Man,
Knicks in the Garden?
It's been 8 or 9 years since like 2016 or something like that, since we had a Christmas game. And I think we last played the Bulls, I think. But man, Wemby just he changed the overall atmosphere of the San Antonio Spurs, because now we have an image, and it's just crazy. We're gonna get to show like a lot of the fans around America and even worldwide what the Spurs are now. So I mean, it's just gonna be crazy just with the talent we have right now. I know it's not championship competitiveness talent, but it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how well the Spurs do on national TV. Because I know last year they played the Bucks, and they played the Suns too on national TV.
Yeah, we had a few.
And the Spurs games, if y'all haven't been watching them, any non-Spurs fans out there, they be exciting sometimes. I ain't gonna lie to you.
That Bucks game, you had Keldon Johnson with the reverse dunk. You had Devin Vassell with he missed the mid-range and put it back and dunked it himself. Wemby obviously around the back, contact dunk off the backboard, whatever you like.
No, it was crazy. And then at the end, he blocked Giannis and he hit that 3 at the end. And then obviously, we missed that Trey Jones game winner. But
yeah.
I mean, it was just they're different feel. Like when the national televised group is in San Antonio, games are way, way better.
Yeah. Do you think they'll bring back the Spurs Christmas jerseys? You remember those?
The cursive ones?
Yeah, the like little finesse.
I hope not, because I don't think the NBA really does Christmas jerseys anymore.
Oh, they don't.
Nike doesn't. No.
I haven't been watching Christmas games because the Spurs haven't had one, so I wouldn't know. But I remember those Spurs Christmas jerseys. They were crazy. The LaMarcus Aldridge 12 and whatever.
And then I think at one point they had those long sleeve ones too. For 1 year, I think it was like 20.
The one LeBron ripped off. The one LeBron like ripped his old.
Yeah.
I think we've covered everything. Don't want to keep you here too long, Ant, but we appreciate you coming on Spurs Spotlight and dropping some knowledge on us. My hands might be a little sweaty. My bad.
It's all good. Mine are clammy too.
But like I said, we appreciate you coming on, and you're always welcome on the show.
For sure. I appreciate that.
Y'all make sure to go ahead and leave us a like. Comment down below whatever y'all want to comment. Sometimes y'all be going at me, but hey, what should they comment? I don't really have anything.
Get Zach Collins off my team.
Get Zach Collins off my team down below in the comments.
Get Zach Collins off my team.
We're sending him to Shanghai.
Hell yeah, bro. Send him across the ocean, man.
Guangdong, China. Hey, but that's been it here the first podcast on Spurs Spotlight, and I'll be sure to catch y'all later.
Yeah, catch us later, you guys. My socials is going to be Don't Bother Ant. That's where you can find me on mostly. And then my Spurs account is going to be the Mustang Season. And that's not SESON, it's SZN.
Yes, sir. So y'all go catch my boy Ant. And like I said, leave a like, and we'll catch y'all later.
Appreciate y'all.